Hola clase. Now that you understand how the AR verbs work, the ER verbs and IR verbs should be very, very simple. Um, if you notice with the AR verbs, when you come down into the chart, it was always an A in the spot where the vowel is. Well, now with an ER, it's the exact same thing, only it's an E this time instead of an A. And ER and IR are like best friends. They're almost exactly the same. So they're like twins almost. Um, so they're gonna conjugate exactly the same. OSA, OSA, but then in, but the emos and the amos are gonna be different. So if it was originally an ER, then it's going to be an EMOS. If it was originally an IR, here, then it's going to be an IMOS. So very, very simple. The concept stays exactly the same. OSA emosen, OSA emosen. But the vowel changes. That's it. The vowel changes to match the one that is there in the original ending. That's why it's really important to know the infinitive endings, because not only can you use the infinitive in your conversation and in your sentences, but you also need to know what that infinitive ending is in order to properly conjugate the verb. So, with the example of comer, yo como, tú comes, él come, nosotros comemos, ellos comen. And then the same thing with vivir. Yo vivo, tú vives, él vive. Nosotros vivimos, ellos viven. So you're just taking off this ending, the ER ending, or the IR ending, and you're replacing that ending with an ending that means I do it, you do it, he, she, it does it, we do it, they do it. So this is I eat, you eat, he, she, it eats, we eat, they eat. I live, you live, he, she, it lives, we live, they live. So like, I eat hamburgers. Yo como hamburguesas. You eat hamburgers. Tú comes hamburguesas. He eats hamburgers. Él come hamburguesas. We eat hamburgers together. Nosotros comemos hamburguesas. They eat hamburgers. Comen hamburguesas. Ellos comen hamburguesas. So, it should be pretty simple. If this concept is complicated to you, you might be overcomplicating in your mind. It's a very common problem of students to overcomplicate this process. So just memorize the endings that you need, take off the original ending and put on the new one, depending on who is doing the action. So the difference is, comer is just to eat, the idea of eating or whatever. And vivir is to live, but as soon as you change the ending from an IR to an O, an ES, an E, etc., you get I live, you live, he, she, it lives, we live, they live. Muy bien. If you want to practice this, there's some aplicaciones en las páginas 64 y 65 de sus libros de texto. Once again, these are not graded activities, but they are good practice for you. Under this video, though, you can actually do more of the handouts and see the answer keys for help. Let's do some practica here in the video. So, let's see. These are all going to be in the nosotros form, because in Spanish class, try to understand these sentences and tell me whether it's cierto, true, or falso, false. Aprendemos a bailar en el salón de clase. So, do we learn to dance in the classroom? Cierto or falso? You should learn your vocabulary in order to understand these sentences. Aprendemos a bailar en el salón de clase. ¿Cierto o falso? Muy bien, falso. Debemos estudiar mucho. We should study a lot. Sí, cierto. Muy bien. Leemos los capítulos completos de Apúntate. Bueno, Apúntate was the last book. Now it's arriba. So, leemos los capítulos completos de arriba. Sí, cierto. Todos comprendemos muy bien cuando la profesora habla. Bueno, that I do not know. Do you guys all understand when I talk? That could be cierto for some of you and falso for others, I suppose. Abrimos los libros con frecuencia en esta clase. So we open our books with frequency or frequently in this class. Sí, cierto. En esta clase escribimos mucho. So in this class, escribimos mucho. We write a lot. I hope so. You should be taking notes. So, cierto. En esta clase aprendemos a hablar y comprender el español. Cierto. Muy bien. So in this class, we learn to speak and understand Spanish. Sí, cierto. Vendo mis libros al final del año. Well, this was I sell my books at the end of the year. This depends on each person. If you sell your books, then it's cierto. If you don't sell your books, it's falso. Recibo muchos paquetes de mi familia, so I receive a lot of packages from my family. ¿Cierto o falso? Bueno, depende del estudiante, otra vez. Depends. Como en casa por la noche. I eat at my house in the evening. ¿Cierto o falso? Depende de la persona, otra vez. So it depends on the person. Vivo con mi familia este semestre. I live with my family this semester. ¿Cierto o falso? Once again, depende del estudiante. Muy bien. Mi profesora cree, my professor believes, that I should assist that class with more frequency. Mi profesora cree que yo debo asistir a clase con más frecuencia. Bueno, since this is an online class, cierto, you should always be coming to class, but I don't know that I can tell you that you need to come more frequently than you do. And then debo aprender a leer más rápido. I should learn to read more quickly or faster. Depende de la persona, otra vez, but probably sí. Muy bien. Once again, we're going to do another example. We're going to mix all of our ARs, ERs, and IRs together. We're going to see if we can make this paragraph make sense. So, mi padre, so my dad sells cars. What do you do if it's just a he, she, or an it? Mi padre. So just take off the R. Mi padre vende coches. Mi padre vende coches. And he works a lot. So my dad sells cars and works a lot. So we're still talking about the dad. So we're going to just take off the R. Y trabaja mucho. Mis hermanas y yo, so my sisters and I. Now that's us, not they. My sisters and I is us. And so what happens to the ending? Do we need to go back and check? Nosotros is an hemos or an emos, depending on what the ending is. So it's an with an e, so it's aprendemos mucho de papá. Mis hermanas y yo aprendemos mucho de papá. Según mi padre, meaning according to my father, los jóvenes, so young people, that's they, right? So how do you make it a they? We put an N on the end, right? So los jóvenes deben, and then what happens when two verbs are together? So the second one doesn't change at all, right? Because the second one never conjugates if if there's two together. So los jóvenes deben asistir a clase todos los días. So they should go to class or assist at class todos los días porque es su obligación, because it is an obligation. Papá también, so he also believes. What do you do when it's a he, she, or an it? Take off the R. Papá también cree Que no es necesario mirar la tele por la noche. So it's not necessary to watch TV por la noche, in the night. Es más interesante, it's more interesting to read el periódico. Look, no one is doing this action. It's more interesting to read el periódico. This doesn't say I read or you read or he, she reads. It's more interesting to read. So when it says to read, you leave it leer because that's what the infinitive is. So es más interesante leer el periódico, the newspaper, una revista, a magazine, or un buen libro, or a good book. Por eso, for that reason, nosotros, okay, what do you do with nosotros? We learned it up here, right? Aprender. Nosotros leemos o escribimos with an I, remember, because the nosotros form keeps the E or the I or the A depending on what was the original vowel. Por eso nosotros leemos o escribimos por la noche y no miramos la televisión, and we don't watch TV. Yo admiro a mi papá, so I admire my dad. Y I believe, creo, right? Because we have to have a yo, creo, ending. So I believe that he understands. So he is the one doing the understanding. So just take off the R. Que él comprende la importancia de la educación. So I believe that he understands the importance of education. Muy bien. Excelente clase. So now what I want you to do, pause the video and sit down and just write out these answers in your notes. So try to understand the question and then just answer it, and it'll help you with your composition for this week. I will read the questions to you, and then the video will be over. So just pause it, just kind of keep this list up there, and then actually answer these questions in your list. Don't forget to use the O ending. Okay. ¿Qué estudias en la universidad? ¿Qué estudias en la universidad? ¿Dónde trabajas? ¿Dónde trabajas? ¿Qué necesitas para tus clases? ¿Qué necesitas para tus clases? ¿A dónde viajan tú y tus amigos en las vacaciones de la primavera? So you should be able to understand all of these sentences with the vocab that we've learned up to this point, or basic common sense. So like vacaciones, what do you think that means? Vacations, right? So just kind of think clearly and use the vocab from the previous chapter or the previous week. ¿Quién prepara la cena en tu casa? Who prepares dinner in your house? La cena is the new word here. ¿Quién prepara la cena en tu casa? Who prepares dinner at your house? ¿Qué bebes en tu café? So what do you drink in your coffee? Or ¿cómo tomas tu café? How do you take your coffee? So maybe you could say with milk and sugar, or black, or I don't drink coffee, or whatever. ¿Qué tipo de libros lees? What type of books do you read? ¿Qué tipo de libros lees? ¿Cuántas personas viven en tu casa? ¿Cuántas personas viven en tu casa? ¿Qué te gusta ver en la televisión? ¿Qué te gusta ver en la televisión? Okay, muy bien. This is the end of this section. Hasta pronto. Adiós.